back.
Yeah, mic check, mic check, mic check. Ah man, we are back and we are officially live. Welcome to the Kicking the Real podcast. I'm your host, Andy Diosa. If you're a first time listener, thank you for being here. And as always, if you're a multiple time listener, thank you for being here. Oh man, it is busy times in the MLS world, and there's never really a perfect time to interject unless I'm doing a weekly show about MLS, which I won't be doing because I'd be busy. And there's other great people that do that have been on this podcast. So please go back and check out all of the great talent that we have doing that. But I figure, you know what? There's 10 MLS match days down. We are in that time of the year where we start to get midweek matches. We have the U.S. Open Cup going on simultaneously. That's featuring a bunch of MLS teams, and then there's also CONCACAF Champions Cup, which we're featuring a bunch of MLS teams, and now there's only two left. And I will talk about all that because I figure this is a new segment I wanted to try, and I'm going to call this MLS 30 and 30. It's pretty simple. There's 30 teams in the league. I'm going to try to touch on every single one of them. Some teams I'll probably ramble about. Some teams that don't deserve it as much, I probably will say little to nothing about. But I'm going to see if I could do it in 30 minutes. So there's a little clock going on in the corner here that will kind of be my guide to see if I could bang this out, and I'll see how I like it because throughout the season there's so much that happens. And if you didn't know, I cover Major League Soccer for work, so I'm pretty busy on match day. So it's hard for me to kind of get on here and be consistent and talk about MLS all the time. But there's a lot of interest and a vast knowledge going on in this noggin right here that sometimes you just have to fire the mic up and get it cracking because I forget that I could do that whenever I want because I have a podcast, right? First things first, though, if you're watching on YouTube, you see it. I'm wearing the Celtics hat, the classic Revs jersey, because self-explanatory there, right? Home team always. It is NBA playoff season full swing, and the Celtics are about to make another run to the championship. Y'all thought it was going to be a gap year. Jason Tatum coming back from injury. It is just everything is so beautiful right now. Don't ask me about the Bruins. Don't ask me about the Red Sox. Not great right now, but we are all in on the Boston Celtics. But we're not here to talk about that today. We are here to talk about Major League Soccer. So, yeah, I'm gonna do this East and West. I'm gonna start with the East. I'm gonna go 1 through 15 in terms of the standings right now. Today is Monday, April 27th. So maybe by the time you're hearing this, something will be a little outdated depending on who I'm talking about. But the next MLS match day is not until Saturday, so we'll have a little bit of time there. And then there's obviously, like I mentioned, U.S. Open Cup and two teams that will be playing the first leg of CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinals. So there goes 3 minutes of an intro. Now I am technically down to 27, but nah, I'm gonna still do it. MLS 30 and 30. Let's get it cracking with Nashville SC. That is the top team in the Eastern Conference right now, and I don't think many people should be surprised by that. It's just the team that last year showed all the strides they made under head coach BJ Callahan. Then they go out and get one of the most underrated players in Major League Soccer throughout the years in Christian Espinoza to add him to a already scary attacking duo of Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surge. Now, the team itself is really good, and there's so much going on there. Obviously, with that trio that is the standout, but then you kind of look around and see how they've been able to manage these competitions. And Nashville is one of those teams that will be playing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal against Tigres, Liga MX Tigres, and this is a team that was able to defeat Club America in Mexico City, the first time that an MLS team had been able to do that in Estadio Azteca. Yes, we're still calling it Estadio Azteca. I don't care what they call it now. We're not changing the name. But it is so impressive what Nashville's been able to do. Usually we see MLS teams get into these competitions and kind of struggle. Either they put it all in for CONCACAF Champions Cup, League, whatever you want to call it. This is going to confuse me throughout this episode, so I'm sorry. And then maybe their MLS play kind of just takes a little bit of a hit. But Nashville has been able to put it together in both, and it's really, really impressive. And isn't like I mentioned, they have their big three, so-called big three, but they're getting production from a lot of people on that roster, right? You have somebody like Eddie Taxev who's been able to step up this year and really be a contributor in a bunch of different ways for them, aside from just what they're getting from that productive front three. So you could go through the list, man, and they really, I mean, it's a roster that is it's built pretty well. But I think it's the credit has to really go to BJ Callahan, who is just has done an incredible job since taking over this team. And I like to remind people that this is a team under Gary Smith that had one identity, and for the lack of better words, was pretty boring throughout the seasons, but BJ kind of just gave them a new breath, and it has been so much fun to watch. I think it's a pretty easy team to root for. Obviously, they play really well at home. It's a good home field advantage for them, which they'll hopefully lean on against Tigres in this semifinals. But you cannot mention Schwake and net and how great he's been for Nashville. So everything has been great. Obviously, Eddie Taxif too. I'm just now thinking of names that are coming back to my head, but literally just a very very good start to the season for Nashville. And some people probably would have had them as a high pick in their preseason, predictions or whatever you want to call them, but they are living up to expectations and more right now. So salute to Nashville, man. In first place of the East and in the semifinals of CONCACAF is not any easy feat, and they're doing it convincingly in both. Whether it's scoring a lot of goals, whether it's holding down a 1-0 victory in Mexico City, they deserve a lot of credit because they have done everything well so far to start this year. So shout out to Nashville SC. Damn, I feel like that was a little too long. Now I'm going to be up against it. Number 2, Inter Miami. Yeah, this is a tough one for me because obviously everything in Inter Miami revolves around Lionel Messi, and for good and bad reason, right? But the whole thing with Javier Mascherano leaving just out of nowhere, and now Hoyos is in charge, something just doesn't sit well with me. There is like a power construct dynamic in Miami that revolves around Lionel Messi for better or for worse, but I see him right now kind of just like, I don't want to say going through the motions because it's Messi, but he doesn't seem as engaged or as powerful or I don't know of a game changer that he has in the past few seasons in MLS. Now he plays a lot. He is still, I guess, on the verge of going to this World Cup. I'm pretty sure he will, although he hasn't really, I don't think, made a public decision on that. But it just hasn't been the same efficiency for Messi and for Miami as a whole, right? The roster kind of has just not been producing the way it should have with Rodrigo De Paul. Luis Suarez is now a bench player because you bring in somebody like Geran Berterame, who was a Liga MX stud and then comes into the Inter Miami. Hadn't really been able to have an impact until these last few weeks, finally starting to seemingly get going. So Miami, the new coach situation, then they're winless at New Stadium, which is their new home in the heart of Miami. Maybe they're missing Fort Lauderdale. I don't know what the case is there, but it just seems like this team right now, after winning MLS Cup last year and having a really great season, is just coasting. And as dangerous as crazy as that sounds, it's also dangerous because they're in second place of the Eastern Conference. So probably not too much to be worried about there yet, but it's something to keep an eye on and see if they could kind of regain that excitement because their games haven't been as thrilling as they have in the past. And this weekend will be a good test for them, I guess, even though they're playing an Orlando team that is not great at all this season. But it is a rivalry game. It is the first time that we play that rivalry at that new stadium in Miami. So maybe there'll be some fireworks and some sparks of what we've seen from those two over the past few seasons. But that's my little 2 cents on Miami. I feel like I'm talking too much already. I'm never going to do this in half hour. Number 3, Chicago Fire. Chicago Fire have also been pretty impressive to start the season, like I mentioned with Nashville. See, there's a really basic concept in the MLS. If you're good at home and you win your home games, you're probably going to get into the playoffs. And Nashville is undefeated at home. Chicago is 4-1 at home. Like, these are teams that are holding it down where they need to. The difference between Nashville and Chicago is Nashville has been pretty good on the road too, and Chicago has not. And that's the one thing that kind of is an outlier for the Fire, is that they have not been able to be the same team when they go on the road compared to when they play at home. And that's not great, right? You have obviously a good core there with Hugo Kuipers coming back and producing instantly. He has back-to-back braces. You get Philip Sangarnago going again. Robin Ludd is there. You have Jack Elliott in defense. Like, this is a pretty solid roster for Greg Berhalter. And you have a match winner in it and Chris Brady seems to keep taking those steps and progressing as a goalkeeper. So I have a high expectation for the Chicago side, and I think they have flexibility in the summer to make a move that will kind of boost them to that next level. But for them to be in third place already at this point of the season is a good sign, and I think that they are taking the steps in the right direction. And I think there is a lot of room for improvement, but there's also a higher bar set there than it has been in a while. So hopefully they continue playing at that level and will try to reach that because I think the potential is surely there for them. Number four, the New England Revolution. That's right. The New England Revolution are in fourth place of the Eastern Conference. I don't care how you want to slice it. The facts are the facts. And to my previous point, if you win your home games, that's pretty good. The Revs are undefeated at the fortress that is Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Nah, but all jokes aside, I think that the most important things for the Revs this year has been Marco coming in and creating an identity, creating just a different culture in that locker room because it seemingly Caleb Porter was not able to do that in his time, and it was far from a fun locker room, from a fun atmosphere. And Marco and the Revs seem to have turned that corner, and that is probably the most important thing coming into the season is for him to kind of establish that within the group, that chemistry. The results, of course, are important, and that luckily for the Revs has been landing. But the first thing was Marco making that mark, and no pun intended, but it has shown already, and that's a great sign for New England. Aside from the fact that Carlos Hill is still one of the best players in the league, and it's not talked about enough, but just his consistency throughout the years, regardless of who is on that team with him, it's pretty amazing. He is really really good, and playing at that level still continuously for the Revs, despite the ups and downs, despite the coaching changes, is a very good sign for them. And then you start seeing players have like a different input. Langoni's has had an input. You have Yusuf who's coming into a good form. Terjman is there, and I still think we got so excited seeing him score a few goals last season, and he's gonna start getting those chances again, right? And he's gonna start putting those away. So there's a good attacking. I've always said this about this Reds team. There's a pretty good unit in attacking third. The midfield is solid defensively. They're good. They're strong enough defensively. You're dealing with the Ceballos injury. He'll be back hopefully soon. But Matt Turner, man, Matt Turner is, I think, playing himself back into the USMNT goalkeeper one role for the World Cup, and that is probably the biggest sign for this team right now. Where Turner, I mean, obviously you don't want your goalie to have too much of an effect, but they just played Miami, right? He knew he was going to have to come up big in that game, and he did. And I think Turner is finally putting his foot on the gas in this last month, basically sprint before that World Cup roster gets announced, and then a month and a half basically before the tournament starts for them is putting his foot on the gas and trying to take that spot back from Matt Freeze. And you could call me biased, but I think he's done so already. So great to see for the Revs, great to see for Matt Turner, and we'll see how that keeps progressing for them in Foxborough. Number 5, Charlotte FC. Ooh, man. Charlotte's a tricky one because they've been a little inconsistent to start the year. They've had some good results. They've had some pretty bad results, and it's worrisome. But for me, it's Wilfred Zaha and what that's going to end like, right? This contract is up in the summer, and from what it looks like, reports out of Charlotte and all that is that's basically his time in North Carolina, which is sad because a good player that just was never able to kind of reach that potential that they thought he was going to hit. But what does Charlotte FC do from there? That's the player that everything revolves around over there, or it was supposed to revolve around over there. How does that progress? I think they might be better off without him, to tell you the truth, if they're able to move the personnel in the way they should and make the right moves. But there's that consistency issue for Charlotte is troubling. You have somebody like Tim Ream, who is such a big part of that team, who's dealing with injury. I don't rate Tim Ream highly, but when you have a player like that, that's not on the field, that's a big deal as well for your team. So they have Pep Biel is great. I think Pep Biel is great. I think Karen Vargas plays his role pretty well over there, but there's still something that needs to be improved a bit on that team, and it's unfortunate because you have such a passionate fan base over there. They really show out for the team. They really love the team, but that consistency issue is not a good sign this early in the season. But as we know, this season's going to have phases with the World Cup break, so maybe there's something in the summer that kind of turns it around for them. If they're able to kind of just get some results here and there for the next month, then they might be in a good spot going into that second, third half of the season, however you want to call it. So that's my 2 cents on Charlotte. Number 6, Toronto FC. Listen, man, speaking about players I don't rate much, Josh Sargent is one of those. He's always been one of those for me. But his addition to the team has been, I think, pretty good for them, right? He's had a few goals. He's had a few moments that he could have scored and he didn't. But they're the chances are coming, which is for the first sign that you need for them. I don't know what the hell is in the water up there, but they've been playing this early slot on Saturdays because they're playing 9 straight home games because of the stadium construction for the World Cup, and all those games have been batshit crazy. Like they have not played one normal game. It is pure chaos all the time. Some of it is good, some of it is bad. They had a keeper score in the last minute. It's just all this stuff is crazy in Toronto. But then I watch them and I forget that somebody like Jose Cifuentes is on that team, and then I'm just like, damn, like this team should be better in my eyes. They just haven't kind of taken that next step, and it feels like we're always waiting for that shoe to drop for Toronto. But there's pieces there for them to do that this season, and I think that's the most important part. Where they're not stuck right now, still reeling from the Italians being there and not playing or not being there. Like this is clearly a new way for them, and it's not going to all happen at once. They're taking those steps. Sometimes it just feels like those steps should be a little more progressive and faster in Toronto, and they haven't been. But I think that they are taking them. So I'll give them a little bit of leeway and a little bit of credit on that in itself. Number 7, New York City FC. New York City FC, Nico is a baller. That's literally all we can say right now. Nico is a baller. He has 8 goals. He's one shy of the Golden Boot lead. He is a baller. Maxi Morales is still really good. Defensively, I really, really like that back line. Thiago Martins, Tavon Gray, Kevin O'Toole, Raul Gustavo. Like they have a pretty good roster, and I think that consistency is going to be a theme for a lot of these teams so far early in the season. But they need to string those results together. But because you can't go from some good wins and then losing to Montreal, and then you're like, all right, man, like kind of takes too many steps back. But good team, have the advantage of playing at a baseball stadium for another season or so. So we'll see how that pans out for them for the rest of the year. But I like that roster. I like that roster. I think they're gonna have a good season. Number 8 in the East is Columbus. The Columbus Crew, man, sad because Wesam Abu Ali gets injured, ACL, and that's his season. He was starting to show the signs of why they brought him there, why he was going to be such an important piece. And sure, Columbus still has players like Max Ofston, who we just saw this past weekend, is a match winner for them. They have Steven Moreira, who will be playing in the World Cup con Cabo Verde. They have Diego Rossi as well. But then you look and you're like, what's the deal with Daniel Gazdag, right? Like, how is a player that like that of that caliber that they brought into this team not been able to make an effect? So I think there's more questions than answers in Columbus, and it's sad because it's a team under Wilfred Nancy who we were so used to seeing at that upper echelon of the East, and I just don't think they're that. I don't think they were that with Wesam Abu Ali. Sure, they were closer to that than they are now, but yeah, they have definitely regressed, and it's not great, not great. Let's go to number 9 in the East, who is FC Cincy, another Ohio team. I don't know what's going on, man. Like Evander has made history over there, made history as a Brazilian in the league, right? Kevin Denke is still really good, but like, what else do they have there? What else? They're winless on the road this year. There's clearly a few discipline issues with all these red cards that have kind of piled up on them, and that's not like a Pat Noonan team. I think that they have a little bit of an identity crisis right now, and I don't know if Evander is that player that kind of is able to pull that team out of it, knowing that he is an MVP caliber player in this league and the leader over there. But I'm concerned about Cincy, and I think if you're not concerned about Cincy, then you haven't been watching, and I'll leave it at that. Number 10, DC United. Yeah, man, I don't got much to say about DC United. Let's be honest. They're kind of uninspiring. Salute to Tabaribos finally starting to get a few goals and get rolling a little bit. But this DC United roster, you look at it and it's like it doesn't leave you with much hope for them to be competitive in the East, be competitive in this league. And it's sad because the direction of that franchise, who is pretty historic in this league, right, is not on a good path right now. So I'll leave that pretty short and brief. Number 11, the Red Bull of New Jersey, or whatever they're calling themselves nowadays. They kind of shocked us to start this year, right? Michael Bradley, new head coach over there, so everybody's excited about that. And then you see the teenagers having a big effect. Julian Hall, Mehmeti, amazing. They have some other pieces there, Ruvel Cabo and Emil Forsberg, that have been pretty important so far. But then you look at their full roster and you're like, man, Eric Choupo-Moting and Cade Cowell haven't even had an effect on this team yet. If they're able to get that going, this is a team that could be top tier and in the East, right? I think I would put them comfortably in the top 5 if they're able to get that going, because the young bulls, as they're calling them, are really great, but you're gonna need a little bit more than Julian Hall and Mehdi running the show for you to really have aspirations to go far in this league and make a playoff push. So pieces are there. They've had a few pretty sad results or pretty disappointing results in the past few games, but we've seen the signs of how good they could be. Now we just have to see it over a consistent basis, right? Number 12, Montreal, 2 straight wins. Great for them, right? Shout out to Prince Owusu and Mahala Poku. Number 13, Atlanta United. Listen, man, Tata Martino is an absolute hell over there, and he is just not having a good time. I don't know what is going on in Atlanta. Talk about a city that gets behind their team. Talk about a franchise who, when things are moving the right way, and a stadium when things are moving the right way, is always rocking and always has a very good following and support. But they are far, far from that. It is grim over there, and if Tata Martino can't fix it, then I think there's bigger issues. I'll leave that one there. Number 14 in the East, it is Orlando City. Man, this is sad for me because I'm an Orlando City fan. Not like if I support them, like I root for them, but I like Orlando City. Typically, since they've been in MLS, I like their teams and what they had going on. Probably because Oscar Pareja was a coach. Shout out to Oscar Pareja from Medellin, Colombia, but he's not there no more, and they thought maybe getting rid of him would help things. It hasn't really. I mean, they were able to get a win in a midweek match with a pretty rotated roster and some of their young guys in there, which the theme of the season is like play the kids, right? But if you think that bringing in Antoine Griezmann in the summer after a World Cup at his age is going to be the answer for a team that's not really going and has the foundation laid, then I don't know if that's the key to success, right? If this team was showing the right steps and was actually moving in a good direction, then you could say, okay, well, we're gonna get to this point. Antoine Griezmann's gonna come in and help us, but they don't need help. They need a savior right now. And this Antoine Griezmann might not be that guy. I'm sorry, not with the way this team looks. And I know they're dealing with some pretty important injuries. And Martino Ojeda is a great, great player. And there's some pretty very talented players on that roster, but it has been a brutal start to the season for them. And it doesn't, I mean, they're playing Miami this weekend. Like I said earlier, maybe that could conjure up some rivalry juices and spark something there, but they have been a pretty tough watch, and that's rough. And then the last team in the Eastern Conference, speaking of tough watches, is the Philadelphia Union, who won the Supporters Shield last year as the best team in MLS. So that should tell you all you need to know about how this league works. My boy Bradley Carnell is not having a good time over there right now. And speaking about teams that maybe it's not a coaching issue, maybe it's more than that. I think that's what Philly is looking at and what they've been dealing with for a few years now. And instead of maybe following a blueprint that certain teams around the league are doing, they are going their own direction, and it is not in the right direction. So there's the Eastern Conference. Oh my God, I have 10 minutes left. I am not getting through this in 30 minutes, but it was a good try. Let's move on to the West. The best team in the Western Conference is the San Jose Earthquakes, because of course they are. Everybody expected that, right? Man, what Bruce Arena has been able to do up in the Bay Area is nothing short of amazing. A true MLS legend. He does it everywhere. He has done it everywhere where he has been in MLS. He understands the league. He knows how to get the best out of his players. He knows how to empower his players. And you are seeing this everywhere through this roster, right? Timo Werner being there is almost just like an addition. And this is what I mean about Orlando. If you have a player of that stature come in and be an addition to something that's already good, great. If you need a player of that stature to come in and be the savior of something that's not good, not that great. But San Jose, man, shout out to them. I said it earlier, I think last week when they beat LAFC. Whatever praise they're getting is probably not enough for the praise that they deserve. And it is across the board. I think right now, if you had to tell me pick an MVP of the league, right now it would be Nico Shakiris. He's been absolutely phenomenal for this San Jose team. Timo Werner, I already mentioned him. Oseni Buda, shout out to Oseni Buda. When San Jose was in LA when they played that game last weekend, I was able to talk to Bruce, able to talk to Timo, able to talk to Oseni Buda, who I've interviewed way back when he was in Stanford. So it was good to catch up with him pretty briefly there. And I asked him simply like, man, like Bruce. And he's like, man, he's been a blessing. Like Bruce has been an absolute blessing for me. And that's just telling for a team that has players like him, like Preston Judd, There's these young players on this roster, these academy players. It's a mixture of a little bit of everything, but then you add somebody with the experience of Timo Werner who was able to go in and kind of just plug and play, right? And we still haven't even seen Timo, I would say, at his best yet, but you could already start seeing him get more comfortable and improve there. Defensively, they've been really good. Flying colors. They are passing the test with flying colors. And the thing I love about this team right now is that they are aware of, sure, this might be surprising to everybody that we're off to this historic start, undefeated on the road, playing very, very well. But they're never gonna get like too high on themselves because Bruce Arena is the coach, and he won't allow that to happen because he knows how to work with these teams. Like what he did in New England, leading them to the Supporters Shield a few years ago before everything went to shit over there, right? So salute to the Earthquakes, man. It's probably the most exciting team to watch in the league right now, and I don't think anybody coming into the season would have thought that. But the facts are the facts, right? So shout out to the Quakes, man. Number two in the West, the Vancouver Whitecaps, who I could say really the same almost about when you talk about a big presence in somebody like Thomas Mueller. But this is a team who was great last year, right? And they're kind of just taking that level and continuing that. Jesper Sorensen did such a good job taking over this team last year. And we're just seeing that same thing again, where these players are all playing to an exceptional level. Sebastian Berhalter, I think he's playing his way into a World Cup spot with his set piece deliveries, if anything, right? We have Brian White. We have these players that are consistent pieces for this Whitecaps team. But what I love is that we're seeing it now elsewhere, where it's not just them. We're getting production from Sabi, from Bruno, from Bruno Caicedo. Like these other players are contributing in ways that are making the collective a lot better. It's not just okay, it's Thomas Mueller or it's Brian White. Now you have Sebastian Barros, so now you have. I mean, you could go through the roster and name everybody, and then you start, going further down the field. Kuvas, one of the best in the league at what he does. It's been that way for a bit now, and then I think Tristan Blackman, who won Defender of the Year last year, and then I think Takioka doesn't get enough of the shine as maybe other goalkeepers in the league do, but he's a top keeper in this league. Very good roster, very good form, very impressive, and that's what I'll say about Vancouver. Everything that happened last year was not a fluke, and that's what they're showing us right now. Number three in the West, LAFC. LAFC has been tricky because Mark Dos Santos comes in, takes over this team, does a really, really good job to start, and everything is amazing. And then they get into this CONCACAF run where they make Cruz Azul look like a shell of themselves. Mind you, Cruz Azul won the CONCACAF tournament last year, so they got rid of the defending champs. David Martinez is flourishing in this new role, which I try to tell people. He's going to do what Steve Cherundolo didn't want to do, and that's unlock David Martinez for whatever reason. Sun and Bwanga haven't been on that same level as they were last year, and that's the issue right now that people are kind of contemplating with LAFC. But listen, I say this. If you have a team with that talent on it and Sun and Bwanga is what's concerning you right now, that's a great problem to have because look around, man. Like they have, I think, 9 clean sheets, something like that this season. Hugo Lloris has been playing like his 2018 France World Cup status, right? Like he is looking amazing. He looks elite back there. The defensive work that they've been able to do in front of him with Ryan Porteous, with Eddie Segura, Sergio Palencia, like they have been really, really good defensively. So if your problem, quote unquote, is Bwanga and Sun not being able to sync up right now, that's a great problem to have. The midfield has been solid. I think Mark Delgado still is probably one of the most underrated players in the league. Timothy Tillman plays his role pretty well. They just got Eustachio back. Like this is an embarrassment of riches of a roster, and they are in the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal against Toluca, which is a very, very tough task. They'll have to play that first leg here in LA on Wednesday without Denis Bwanga and Eddie Segura because of yellow card accumulation. So I think this is where their Champions Cup run ends with Toluca because Toluca is the reigning Liga MX champs and a very, very good roster. But LAFC, I mean, I would not. I know fans here love to get delusional about them. I would not be at all worried about this team, and that's that. Damn, I am not even close to hitting this 30-minute mark. But anyway, Seattle Sounders, number 4. Seattle is Seattle, and that is, if you listen to the last episode when I had my boy Nico Moreno on, who covers the Seattle area, Seattle sports, does a great job at that. They're always going to be the Sounders, and they had this run in CONCACAF Champions Cup. They almost did it and got through Tigres. They tied the aggregate, but they fell short on the away goal rule. So the Seattle team I would not be worried about at all either, because they have their constant pieces there, like we talked about with Cristian Roldan, and now you're getting a little bit of production from Jesus Ferreira, right? But then you have Paul Rothrock contributing. You look through that roster, and it's the same thing. It's an embarrassment of riches for an MLS team, and one that's tested, one that knows what to do, and is coached by a coach in MLS who has been doing this forever. So the Sounders will be there, and they're in fourth place now. Maybe not even playing at their best level yet, but we talk about teams that need consistency. This is one of those that will likely always have it because of the foundations they've set up in the Pacific Northwest. Number 5, Minnesota United, el equipo de James Rodriguez. Man, I say that and laugh to not make myself feel sad, but James finally started a game this past weekend and played really well. Maybe he played, maybe not really well. He played well. They lost 1-0 to LAFC in Minnesota, but some great passes, had a few shots. James looked more like the version that we need him to look like. Obviously, still a little bit of time to go before he regains that form and before the World Cup starts. But the clock is ticking, and we need him to play these games. So please keep him out there. But no, the reason why he hasn't been out there is because players like Joaquin Pereira and Tomas Chancalay have been really good, and they're making the decision making pretty tough over there to add James to a team that has been winning and has been pulling out results, right? Especially if Cameron knows that this is a short-term thing just for the World Cup. I think there's a little bit of pride as a head coach that's like, all right, we'll use him how we need to, but he's not just going to get plugged in there and play all the time just because he wants to get better. Like, he has to do what's best for the team, and I think so far he's done that. Hopefully, James is in his plans for the next month at the very least, but maybe they don't need him. It's crazy to say that. I think James he gives them a better look, but when your team has stepped up the way they have so far without him being a factor, it's hard to kind of argue against that too, right? Number 6, Real Salt Lake. I like this team a lot, man, and this is a very good roster that Pablo Mastroeni has. I've been saying this for like the past season or two. Like, Pablo Mastroeni, when we're talking about MLS head coaches and the great MLS head coaches, needs to be mentioned a little bit more. Like, he always manages to get a lot out of rosters that perhaps are not the greatest. And this roster right now might be one of the better ones he's had at his time in Real Salt Lake. Xavier Gozo is a stud. He just turned 19 like a month ago, and this guy's projection is through the roof. I think he has such a bright future. I think he is just such a great player to watch. He's so fun. He's so confident on the ball. He's so good on the ball. But then they have somebody like Sergio Solans, who in the past, I don't know, few weeks has shown how talented he is as well, right? They have Diego Luna, who is trying to play his way into a World Cup spot, which the only thing that concerns me about this team is that for Diego Luna, because he's had a rough start to this year and he's just starting to get back in terms of maybe fully healthy and rhythm. But the clock is ticking, and it seems like he might be on the outside looking in for the U.S. roster, although Mauricio Pochettino loves him, and we know that because he has publicly stated so. But I'm concerned let's just say, if Diego Luna does not make this USMNT roster, what does the second half of the season look like for him? Because is he going to like kind of be a little disinterested and dejected that he didn't make that roster? Or is he going to try to prove like, listen, I am good enough to take a step and get to the next level? Maybe if it's not here in MLS, maybe I could go do it somewhere else. So that is like one thing that I really want to watch for RSL. But the roster is great. I mean, they have some young talent who is playing with a lot of confidence, a lot of chemistry. Shout out to Herzakani, who made Jakob Glesnes look a little move, took him for a little dance, and then send the cross in. I want to say assisted, but I think it was an own goal. But Gozo gets a shot on net, bounces off the pole back off of Marcinkowski. But either way, a lot of young players playing really good level there, and with a coach like Pablo Mastroeni, you have to feel confident about that. So shout out to RSL. Number 7, the Colorado Rapids. Colorado also is they've had some good things happen so far this season. I mean, obviously we know Rafael Navarro is great. I think the Kosi Thompson pickup was really, really good for them. Paxton Harrison is there, obviously an important piece. Lucas Harrington, standout young defender, like amazing. But Zach Steffen, there might be a conversation that needs to be had there. So we take the good with the bad for now. That's what I'll say about the Colorado Rapids. 8 and 9, I'm going to loop them right in, although I probably shouldn't, but 8 is FC Dallas, 9 is Houston Dynamo. Listen, man, I'll give Dallas credit because Petar Musa is Golden Boot lead, tied right now with Sam Surridge with 9 goals each. Probably one of the best strikers in the league, has the shout to be the best striker in the league, right? Logan Farrington has been great as well. Santi Moreno's there, but these two teams, for some reason, and it does feel like this. I don't know. Somebody please tell me if I'm wrong. They're always like in the middle of the pack, and they're always like a piece or two away from like taking that next step. And it feels like they're always going to be stuck there. I don't know why. Even when you have somebody who is in the lead for a Golden Boot right now, and they're 8 and 9. Like, I mean, granted, it's a few points that will fluctuate that, but I want to remember this when the season progresses and see how they're able to break apart, because this is what I feel about those two teams. Although, I think FC Dallas roster is way more talented than the Houston Dynamo roster, it seems like there's just still that missing piece or two that's going to push them to the next level, especially in a Western Conference that is really, really good this season. No hate to the Texas teams. Number 10, the LA Galaxy. LA Galaxy, man. Listen, it just beat RSL, which sure, it makes everybody happy. The vibes are back up. The vibes are back up. Greg Vanny and everybody that spoke after that game was pretty excited. Marco Roy spoke. JT Marcus Nkowski spoke. Who else was that? I was all over the place that day. But either way, they're happy that they got this win. It was a very needed win because they were winless in April. It was a very packed month for them. But I don't know, is it sustainable? Is what we need to see. Jao Klaus gets hurt, so now they're going to tinker with a false nine and have Joseph Painsil play there. And Joseph Painsil and Gabriel Peck, from what they showed us when they were around with Ricky in the MLS Cup winning year to now, it's like they miss each other on open passes. Then they're like flailing their arms at each other. It's not good, man. Like, it's just, you could tell the body language there is not good. Sure, the win's gonna help, but I don't think that they are still in a place that is going to be able to keep going that direction. And maybe they were just excited about the Kobe Jones statue. I don't know, but not a great start. Somehow they're in 10. A really good result for them. Marco Royce um, is stepping up the way he needs to, because you look around and you're like, well, who else is going to do it for them? But I still think that they're just not there. They're just not there right now. And injury wise, it's tough for them defensively. Same broken record over the past few seasons, that they give up some pretty lousy goals. But we'll see. We'll see what the season progresses like for them. I don't have a lot of confidence in what they've been doing so far, but maybe they'll turn it around, because I would say if there's a hot seat in MLS, it would have to be Greg Vanny's. Maybe because his standing at the LA Galaxy is not gonna get fired, but it has to change, man. It's not sustainable. It has to change, and maybe that win against RSL is a good start, or maybe it is just a little bit of a like patching over with dirt for now. So we'll see what that looks like. 11, San Diego FC. Oof. Speaking about the Philadelphia Union earlier, and teams that were really good last year and that are not good this year, that regression in San Diego has been something that might need to be studied. I mean, of course, they blew all expectations out of the water in their inaugural expansion season last year, but it's been bad. And the Chucky Lozano thing aside, I don't even know what the hell's going on there. Anytime any media in San Diego mentions his name to Mikey Varys, his face just goes stone, and he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to hear his name. So Chucky is out of the plans. We know that. But the Anders Dreyer was a newcomer of the year last year, not the same player right now, given the situation. His team did not qualify for the World Cup, so that's probably weighing on him as well. Then they have, they're getting all these red cards. So we talk about, is there a discipline issue? Is like, what's going on with the team that seems so defined in their roles last year to this season? And it's tough to watch. And listen, man, their May schedule against LAFC, against Seattle, against Austin, against Cincy, against Vancouver. Like LAFC, Seattle, Vancouver, tough. I already talked about all three of those teams. Austin, it could be a toss-up. And Cincy, the way they're playing this year, could also be a toss-up. So San Diego has their work cut out for them, and it starts this weekend with LAFC heading down to San Diego. They might get lucky that LAFC is going to have to rotate a little bit, depending on what CONCACAF Champions Cup looks like. But yeah, troubling times in San Diego. Now I'm going to speed through these last four in the West, because I'm already over the 30 minutes, and these last four teams are number 12, Portland Timbers. Talking about hot seats, Phil Nevels has to be pretty warm, pretty lukewarm. That team is uninspiring, and every time I hear him speak, he's either throwing his guys under the bus or like overly praising them for looking kind of mediocre. So nothing about Portland excites me, or I don't like anything that they have going on right now. Sorry. Number 13, Austin FC. Austin FC still interests me. And it could be the little bias I have because I do love going to Q2 Stadium, and I love the atmosphere around Austin and their fan base when the team is playing well. But they're gonna get Brandon Vasquez back. They're gonna get Owen Wolf back. They're gonna get Denny Pereira back. Three very important players in that team. If they're able to come back with the team that they have now, you get Christian Ramirez there as like Brandon Vasquez sub. Ozuni starts playing better. The team has pieces there that they could be way better than what they've shown to start. And that's all I'll say. There's a lot of room for growth in that team. And I think with those three players coming back, they could get it. I still think Brad Stuver is one of the better keepers in this league. He's been under it a lot because the team has not flown and has not just really meshed in a way that they should be. But listen, man, call me naive or call me cynical rather. But I think this Austin team could make a little bit of a surge up the standings, and I'll leave it at that. 14, St. Louis City. If you told me when St. Louis came into MLS that they'll have a season similar to the one they're having now, I think we all would have been like, yeah, cool, right? People want to tell me that Yohan DeMay has been good and the team is taking steps. I don't know if I'm convinced. I saw it a little bit, but it's so crazy how they went from this crazy expansion season a few years ago, and clearly there's a lot of turnaround. Bradley Carnell, the Lutz Spanish Steel stuff, but it seems like they just reset already. And it's like, how do you reset after only a few years of existing in this league? And the reset doesn't seem to be resetting. Like they unplugged the system and forgot to plug it back in. St. Louis, whether or not people do see those improvements, and you could see it tactically. They're playing a little better. Edu Leuven is coming back after unfortunate events with his wife's passing, but there needs to be a lot more for the St. Louis team that we just haven't seen yet. And like I said, if you told me they were going to have this season a few years ago when they were coming into MLS, when things were unexpected and things were unknown, it would have been like cool. But it's a little disappointing to see them kind of back at the start and be way worse than when they actually did start. So clearly the expectations were low. They surpassed them incredibly in that expansion year, and then it's just been all downhill since then, and they haven't really got that impulse to start going back uphill. Maybe a little bit, but not enough. And the last team in MLS, 15th, Sporting Kansas City, they have 4 points in 10 games. They thought Peter Vermes might be the issue, and I think they're figuring out that the issue might have been more than Peter Vermes. Yes, that's it. All 30 teams in 42 minutes. So what? It's like, yeah, like 40 minutes, man. I tried, bro. You know what? I'll try it again. This was fun. I need a sip of water because that was a lot. Thank you for tapping in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Tell a friend and tell a friend. We'll see. We get some more guests coming up. The World Cup's coming up. There's a lot of things going on. Shout out to the Celtics. What else do I want to say right now? I think that might be it. Until the next time. Peace.